the contract that replaced the chain. What if slavery ended, but the plantations still needed people they could control? In 1834, Britain abolished slavery across most of its empire. For millions of enslaved Africans, it marked the beginning of freedom. But for plantation owners, freedom created a new problem. Formerly enslaved people could now leave the plantations, refuse brutal conditions, and demand better wages. The sugar plantations still needed cheap labor. So the empire turned to India. Recruiters traveled through villages across northern and southern India, promising good jobs, steady wages, and the hope of a better life overseas. Some people understood they were signing labor contracts. Many did not fully understand how far they were traveling, where they were going, or what kind of life awaited them. The contract became known as Gurmat, a local pronunciation of the English word agreement, and the workers became known as Gurmat Yas. Between the 1830s and the early 1900s, nearly 1.2 million Indians were transported under indentured labor to plantations across the British and European empires. They were sent to Mauritius, British Guiana, Trinidad, Jamaica, Fiji, South Africa, Suriname, and many other colonies. For many, the voyage lasted weeks or even months. Some became sick before they ever reached land. When they finally arrived, they discovered that the life they had been promised was very different from the life they found. The work was exhausting, the wages were low, the housing was poor, and leaving the plantation, refusing to work, or breaking the contract could lead to fines, imprisonment, hard labor, or even extra years added to their service. On paper, they were no longer slaves. They could not legally be bought or sold. But the plantation owner still controlled their labor, while colonial law controlled much of their freedom. That is why many historians have described indentured labor as a new system of slavery, not because it was identical to chattel slavery, but because the plantation economy survived by replacing chains with contracts enforced through poverty, distance, and colonial power. Many workers dreamed of returning home, but returning often required money they did not have, or conditions they could never meet. Some stayed because they had no choice. Others stayed because they had built new families and new lives. Today, millions of people of Indian descent live in Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Mauritius, Fiji, South Africa, Suriname, and across the Caribbean because of that journey. Their story did not begin with ordinary migration. It began with an empire searching for workers after slavery had ended. The chain had officially been broken, but the demand for controlled labor remained. So the empire replaced the chain with a contract many could not fully understand for a journey they could never truly undo.